They say money can't buy happiness, but from the top floor of his Manhattan penthouse, Alexander Chen had every reason to disagree. At 35, he commanded an empire that stretched across 3 continents, with a net worth that made headlines in Forbes. His closet housed more designer suits than some boutiques, and his garage hosted a collection of exotic cars that would make any enthusiast weep. Life, as far as Alex was concerned, was a game he had mastered. "Mr. Chen, your 3 p.m. called to confirm the merger details," James Parker announced, his crisp British accent cutting through the ambient sounds of success, the gentle hum of the climate control system that kept the penthouse at a perfect 72 degrees, the subtle buzz of smartphones managing multi-million-dollar deals, and the distant symphony of New York City 60 stories below. Alex adjusted his Patek Philippe watch, a $300,000 timepiece that served as a constant reminder of how far he'd come from his humble beginnings. The son of Chinese immigrants who ran a corner store in Queens, he had transformed their modest savings into a tech empire that was revolutionizing artificial intelligence. Every magazine cover that featured his face was a testament to the American dream. "Victoria's planning quite the celebration for tonight," James continued, his tablet displaying an evening schedule that looked more like a military operation than a party plan. "The yacht is ready, and the guest list includes 3 senators and a handful of Fortune 500 CEOs. Victoria Blake, Alex's fiancée, was the perfect complement to his success story. A former runway model turned social media influencer, she had mastered the art of turning their relationship into a brand. Their engagement announcement alone had garnered millions of likes and a feature in Vogue. "The weather forecast isn't ideal," Sir James added, his usual composure showing a hint of concern. "Perhaps we should move the meeting to a video call. The roads are getting icy." Alex laughed, the sound echoing off the floor to ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of his kingdom. "Since when did weather stop us, James? We didn't build this company by playing it safe." The words had barely left his lips when his phone buzzed another urgent message about the merger. Without hesitation, he grabbed his keys from the imported marble countertop. The meeting was across town, and in Alex Chen's world, time wasn't just money, it was power. "I'll be back in time for the party," he assured Victoria, who was draped elegantly across their designer sofa, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, her perfectly manicured eyebrows arching with concern. "Be careful, darling. Something feels off today." That was the last conversation they would have for 6 months. Because 20 minutes later, on a curved stretch of road near Central Park, Alex Chen's Ferrari would hit a patch of black ice. The last thing he would remember was the city lights spinning like a kaleidoscope as his car broke through the guardrail, and a strange thought floating through his mind: all the money in the world couldn't buy one more second of time. Sound of screeching tires, breaking glass, then silence. The news would make headlines across the globe: tech billionaire Alexander Chen in critical condition. But headlines couldn't capture the reality of what happened next, how a single moment would unravel everything he thought he knew about wealth, success, and the true value of human connection. Soft, contemplative music fades in. Life has a way of revealing its deepest truths when we're forced to stand still. As Alexander Chen lay motionless in his private hospital suite, the memories of his rise to power played like a movie in his unconscious mind. 10 years earlier, he had been just another ambitious graduate from MIT, working out of his parents' garage in Queens. His father, proud owner of Chen's corner store, would bring him coffee every morning at 4 a.m., watching his son type furiously at his computer. "Success is not just about being smart," his father would say in Mandarin, "it's about being worthy of trust." Those early days were fueled by instant noodles and determination. Alex's breakthrough came when his AI algorithm caught the attention of Silicon Valley veterans. The garage became an office, the office became a floor, and soon Chen Technologies occupied a gleaming skyscraper in Manhattan. His parents never got to see his empire at its height. A tragic car accident took them both just as his star began to rise. The irony of history repeating itself was not lost on the hospital staff. Fade to Victoria's story. Victoria Blake entered his life like a force of nature, commanding attention at a charity gala where Alex was receiving an innovation award. She was everything his success demanded: beautiful, sophisticated, and thoroughly versed in the art of being elite. Their courtship played out like a fairy tale on social media: private jet vacations to the Maldives, helicopter rides to impromptu dinner dates in Paris, and a proposal that shut down Times Square. They're calling us the modern-day Gatsby, and Daisy Victoria had cooed one morning, showing Alex their latest magazine cover. Her Instagram followers had tripled since they began dating, and her lifestyle brand, Victoria's Victory, had secured partnerships with luxury brands worldwide. Their relationship was a carefully curated performance of perfection. But now, as Alex lay unconscious, Victoria's true colors began to show. Her daily visits became weekly, then monthly. The Instagram posts about standing by her man grew less frequent, replaced by photos at exclusive events where she was noticeably alone. "I have to maintain my brand," she told her followers in a tearful video. "Alex would want me to stay strong." The diamond engagement ring still graced her finger, but its meaning had begun to fade like morning dew under a harsh sun. Transition to James's perspective. James Parker's connection to the Chen family ran deeper than most knew. As a struggling international student 15 years ago, he had frequented Chen's corner store, often unable to afford more than a cup of coffee. Alex's mother would slip extra food into his bag, refusing payment with a gentle smile. When James learned of their passing, he made a vow to repay their kindness by looking after their son. For 7 years, he had been the perfect assistant, anticipating needs, solving problems, and protecting Alex's interests with unwavering loyalty. Or so it seemed. But power, like a strong wine, can intoxicate even the most steadfast hearts. As weeks of Alex's coma stretched into months, James began to see opportunities in the chaos. Board meetings were held without proxy, decisions were made in whispers, and slowly, the empire Alex built began to slip through his unconscious fingers. Hospital scene introduction. It was during these quiet power plays that Maria Suarez entered the story. Unlike the others who populated Alex's world, she didn't arrive in designer clothes or carrying a leather briefcase. She pushed a cleaning cart through the hospital halls during the graveyard shift, her practical shoes squeaking against the polished floors. Maria had her own history of loss and redemption. A former nurse with 20 years of experience, she had lost her license for providing free care to undocumented immigrants at a community clinic. "Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a price," she would say with a gentle smile that carried no bitterness. Now, at 55, she cleaned hospital rooms with the same care and attention she once gave to patients. Room 2187, Alex's suite, became part of her nightly routine. While others saw a wealthy man in a coma, Maria saw someone who reminded her of her own son, lost years ago to a drunk driver. She would clean methodically, talking to Alex in a mix of English and Spanish, sharing stories about her day, her family, and her dreams of someday returning to nursing. "You know, Senor," she would say while adjusting his pillows with professional precision, "in my experience, the richest people are often the poorest in spirit. But you have your mother's kindness in your face. I can tell." The night shift suited Maria. In the quiet hours between midnight and dawn, when the hospital's chaos subsided, she created a peaceful sanctuary in room 2187. She would open the windows just a crack to let in fresh air, arrange the flowers that were delivered daily, though with decreasing frequency, and sometimes read aloud from the newspapers, keeping Alex informed of the world he was missing. The camera pans across empty hospital corridor. Little did anyone know that in the grand equation of Alex Chen's life, it would be this humble night shift janitor, not the glamorous fiancé, not the trusted assistant, who would prove to be worth more than all his billions combined. But then again, true worth has always had a way of hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Soft music fades to silence, melancholic piano music plays softly. Time moves differently in a hospital. Days blur into nights, weeks into months, and the only constant is the steady beeping of machines. In room 2187, the changing seasons were marked not by weather, but by the gradual erosion of Alexander Chen's carefully curated inner circle. The first month brought a parade of visitors, business associates, celebrity friends, politicians who owed him favors. They came with expensive flower arrangements and practiced words of concern, their visits perfectly timed for social media coverage. "Praying for your recovery," they posted, hashtags carefully chosen for maximum engagement. By month 2, the stream had slowed to a trickle. The flowers wilted longer before being replaced. Victoria still came daily, but her designer heels spent less time clicking against the hospital floor and more time rushing to charity galas and fashion shows. "I have to maintain appearances," she would whisper to Alex's unconscious form. You understand, don't you, darling? Scene transition social event. It was at the Met Gala, 3 months into Alex's coma, that Victoria first encountered Marcus Sterling, CEO of Sterling Technologies, Chen Technologies' biggest rival. The photos hit the society pages immediately. Victoria Blake, the faithful fiancée, sharing an intimate conversation with the handsome competitor. Just business, her publicist assured the press. But the diamond on her finger felt heavier with each passing day. Meanwhile, James Parker orchestrated his own performance. In board meetings, he presented himself as the devoted right-hand man, protecting Alex's interests. Mr. Chen would want us to keep the company strong, he would say, his British accent lending authority to his words. But after hours, he met with board members in private clubs, whispering about contingency plans and leadership transitions. Business montage. 4 months in, the vultures began to circle. Sterling Technologies proposed a merger, a hostile takeover disguised as a lifeline. James presented it to the board as the only viable option to protect shareholder value. The same hands that had once carried Alex's dreams now signed papers to dismantle them. Victoria's Instagram told the story in carefully filtered photos. The captions changed from "standing by my love" to "learning to be strong on my own" to finally, "sometimes life has other plans." The engagement ring disappeared from her finger, only to reappear 2 weeks later on her right hand. A month later, it was replaced by a larger diamond, this one given by Marcus Sterling himself. Hospital scene night. Through it all, Maria Suarez remained constant. Her nightly rounds became a ritual of care that went far beyond cleaning. She noticed when the expensive flowers stopped coming and brought wildflowers from her own garden. When the private duty nurses began cutting corners, she would adjust Alex's positioning herself, drawing on her years of nursing experience. "You have more friends than you know," Signor she would say while changing his sheets with practiced efficiency. "My mother always said wealth shows you who your friends are, both by who stays and who leaves." Montage of empty room. By month 5, the stream of visitors had dried to a desert. Victoria's engagement to Marcus Sterling made headlines. Tech titan and society beauty find love. In trying times, the article mentioned Alex only in passing, a footnote in his own love story. James's takeover was nearly complete, with board members already referring to him as the de facto CEO. But Maria's care never wavered. She would arrive each night at 11 p.m., bringing the same dedication she had shown on day 1. She talked to Alex about her family, her dreams, her struggles. She shared stories about her own losses and victories, treating him not as a billionaire in crisis, but as a human being in need of connection. "My son would be about your age now," she confided one night while adjusting his blankets. "The drunk driver who took him never faced justice, but I learned that holding on to anger only hurts yourself. Sometimes the greatest peace comes from letting go." Close up on medical monitors. The machines continued their vigilant beeping, marking time in their mechanical way. Outside Alex's room, his company was being carved up like a Christmas turkey. His fiancée was planning a wedding to his rival. His trusted assistant was rehearsing speeches as the new CEO. His empire was crumbling. But inside room 2187, something else was building, something that couldn't be measured in stock prices or social media followers. In the quiet hours between midnight and dawn, Maria's gentle voice and genuine care were weaving a different kind of wealth, one that would prove more valuable than all the billions Alex had lost. Soft focus on window. As month 6 drew to a close, the spring flowers were blooming outside Alex's window. Victoria had moved in with Marcus Sterling. James had scheduled the final board vote to officially take control of the company, and Maria simply arrived for her shift as always, unaware that she was about to witness an awakening that would change everything. Heart monitor beeps increase slightly, soft morning light filters through window. Consciousness returned to Alexander Chen like a tide, coming in slow, gentle waves at first, then a sudden rush that swept away 6 months of darkness. The first sensation was the warmth of sunlight on his face. Then came the steady rhythm of medical equipment, and finally, a soft humming, someone singing quietly in Spanish. His eyelids felt heavy, but he managed to open them just enough to see a figure adjusting his window blinds. Not Victoria's elegant silhouette or James's tailored suit, but a woman in simple scrubs, moving with quiet efficiency. "Agua," he whispered, his voice rough from months of disuse. The woman turned, surprise flickering across her weathered face, then transforming into a warm smile that reached all the way to her eyes. "Dios mío. You're awake," she rushed to his side, pressing the call button with one hand while reaching for a cup of water with the other. "Small sips, señor." "Despacio, slowly." The water felt like heaven against his parched throat. As his vision cleared, he studied the woman's face, kind eyes, laugh lines, silver streaks in her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore no makeup or jewelry, just a simple name tag that read Maria Suarez Environmental Services. Monitor beeping increases. Where he began, but Maria gently shushed him. "The doctors are coming. Save your strength. You've been away for a long time." The next few hours passed in a blur of medical examinations, neurological tests, and carefully measured responses. Through it all, Maria stayed in the background, quietly continuing her work while medical professionals swarmed around him. But Alex noticed how the doctors treated her with unusual respect, often deferring to her observations about his condition. It wasn't until evening, after the doctors had finally left, that Alex learned the truth. Maria had stayed past her shift, sensing he might need a friendly face for what was coming. "Your company," she began gently, setting aside her cleaning supplies to sit in the chair beside his bed. "There have been changes." Flashback montage begins. One by one, the betrayals were revealed. Victoria's engagement to Marcus Sterling splashed across a tablet screen. James's corporate takeover detailed in business newspapers. The erosion of his empire documented in financial reports. Each revelation hit like a physical blow, but Maria's steady presence anchored him through the storm. "Why?" Alex's voice cracked. "Why are you still here?" Maria's eyes softened. "Because 25 years ago I was a nurse in this very hospital. I had everything: respect, a good salary, a promising career. Then one night, a family came in. No insurance, no papers. Their child dying from an easily treatable condition. The hospital wanted to transfer them to a public facility, but there was no time." She paused, adjusting his pillows with practiced hands. "I treated the child anyway, saved his life. Then I did it again and again. I created a free clinic in my spare time, using hospital supplies. When they caught me, I lost my license. But I never lost my purpose." Close up on Maria's face. "The hospital gave me this job because they knew my heart was still in medicine. I may clean floors now, but I never stopped being a healer. These past 6 months, you reminded me of all the patients I used to care for, not because of your wealth, but because of your wealth, but because every human deserves compassion." Alex stared at her, seeing past the simple uniform to the strength beneath. While Victoria had been planning her society wedding and James had been stealing his company, this woman had been fighting for his dignity one night shift at a time. "You talk to me," he said suddenly, memories filtering back. "Every night. About your son." Maria's eyes welled with tears. "Carlos. He was killed by a drunk driver 10 years ago. He would have been your age now. When I saw you lying here so alone, despite all your wealth, I couldn't bear it. Money can buy a lot of things, Senor, but it can't buy genuine care." Emotional music swells. The truth of her words hit him harder than any of the betrayals. He thought of Victoria, who had loved his lifestyle more than him. Of James, who had seen his vulnerability as an opportunity. Of all the fair-weather friends who had disappeared like morning mist. Then he looked at Maria, this former nurse turned janitor, who had lost everything for doing the right thing, yet still had the wealth of spirit to care for a stranger. "Tell me more," he whispered, his voice stronger now. "About your clinic, about what happened, about everything." As the sun set outside his window, Maria settled into the chair and began to share her story. She told him about the immigrant families she had helped, the lives she had saved, the choice between her career and her conscience. Her words painted a picture of a different kind of wealth, one measured not in dollars, but in lives touched and hearts healed. Camera pans out. In that moment, something fundamental shifted in Alexander Chen's world. The loss of his fortune, his fiancée, his company, all of it paled in comparison to the revelation sitting beside his bed. Here was someone who had lost everything for the sake of helping others, yet considered herself rich in the things that truly mattered. As he listened to Maria's story, a new kind of awakening began to take root in his heart, one that would transform not just his future, but his entire understanding of what it meant to be truly wealthy. But soft music fades, rehabilitation center montage begins. Recovery, Alex discovered, was a humbling dance of small victories and crushing setbacks. The man who once commanded boardrooms now struggled to hold a spoon. The tech visionary who had revolutionized artificial intelligence had to relearn the basic algorithms of walking. But in this stripped-down version of himself, he found something unexpected: authenticity. Más despacio, Maria would say during her visits, now coming during her off hours to help with his rehabilitation. Slower. You didn't build your company in a day, did you? She had taken vacation days to accompany him to the rehabilitation center, where the staff quickly learned to appreciate her experience. While physical therapists worked on his body, Maria tended to his spirit. She brought homemade soup, told stories about her nursing days, and most importantly, showed him a different way of measuring progress. Physical therapy scene. When I lost my nursing license, she shared, one day as Alex struggled with parallel bars, I thought my life was over. But my mother told me something I never forgot: your hands can lose their title, but they can't lose their healing unless you let them. Sweat dripped down Alex's face as he took another shaky step. I built my whole identity around success, he gasped. Without my company, who am I? Maria's answer was simple: you're who you choose to be, right now, in this moment. Montage of daily exercises. The physical challenges were intense, but the emotional rehabilitation proved even more demanding. Each morning brought new headlines about his former empire. James had successfully orchestrated the takeover, rebranding Chen Technologies as Parker Innovations. Victoria and Marcus Sterling's wedding dominated social media, their happiness hashtagged for maximum exposure. Yet surprisingly, these updates began to affect Alex less and less. Between therapy sessions, he found himself drawn to Maria's stories about her underground clinic, the lives she'd saved, the risks she'd taken, the choice to value human dignity over professional security. You know what's funny, he said one evening, as they shared tea in the rehabilitation center's garden. I used to think losing everything would be the worst thing that could happen to me. Now I realize I never really had the things that mattered most. Flashback to business scenes. His old approach to business played through his mind like cautionary tales. The aggressive acquisitions, the prioritization of profit over people, the belief that net worth equaled self-worth, it all seemed hollow now. In its place, a new vision began to take shape. During his recovery hours, between physical therapy and rest, Alex started sketching out plans on a borrowed tablet. His fingers, still regaining their dexterity, mapped out a different kind of company, one that would merge cutting-edge technology with humanitarian goals. What if he proposed to Maria, we created an AI-driven healthcare platform? Something that could make medical care accessible to everyone, regardless of their status or ability to pay. Maria's eyes lit up with understanding. Like my clinic, but scaled through technology. Exactly. Alex's fingers moved faster across the screen. We could start with a network of free clinics, powered by AI diagnostics but run by compassionate healthcare workers. People like you, who understand that medicine is about more than just procedures and profits. A business planning montage. As his body grew stronger, so did his resolve. He reached out to old contacts, not for their money but for their expertise. Some dismissed him as a fallen titan, but others, intrigued by his new vision, offered support. A small team of ethical investors began to form, drawn to the idea of technology serving humanity rather than just shareholders. Your father would be proud, Maria remarked one day, watching Alex practice walking in the center's corridor. He understood that true wealth isn't what you have, but what you give. The mention of his father stirred something deep in Alex's memory, those early morning conversations in the family store, where success was measured not in dollars, but in the smiles of satisfied customers. His father had built his modest business on trust and genuine care for his community. Now, decades later, his son was finally understanding the wisdom in that approach. Present-day scene. 6 weeks into his rehabilitation, Alex stood unassisted for the first time. The moment was captured not by professional photographers or social media influencers, but by Maria on her simple phone camera. The joy in her eyes meant more than any business magazine cover ever had. Ready to change the world, she asked, offering her arm as he took his first independent steps. Alex smiled, feeling stronger than he ever had behind his old mahogany desk, ready to do it right this time. Transition to office setting. The new company took shape even as Alex's body continued to heal. He worked from his rehabilitation room, transforming it into a temporary office where ethics and innovation shared equal priority. The team he assembled was different too, not just brilliant minds, but compassionate hearts. We're not just building a company, he explained to his new partners. We're creating a model for conscious capitalism. Every decision we make has to answer one question: does this serve humanity? But Maria's influence was evident in every aspect of the business plan. The technology would be cutting edge, but the heart of the operation would be human connection. It wasn't just about disrupting the healthcare industry, it was about healing it, one patient at a time. Soft focus on sunset through window. As Alex watched the sun set from his rehabilitation center window, he realized that his recovery had given him more than restored health. It had given him a new definition of wealth, one that couldn't be measured in stock prices or social media followers, but in the number of lives touched and hearts healed. The man who woke up from the coma was not the same one who would walk out of the rehabilitation center. He was someone better, stronger, and paradoxically, far richer in all the ways that truly mattered. Gentle music fade, elegant orchestral music begins softly. 2 years after waking from his coma, Alexander Chen stood at a podium quite different from the ones he'd known before. Instead of a corporate headquarters, he was addressing the opening of the Chen Suarez Healthcare Foundation's first AI-integrated free clinic in Queens, just blocks from where his father's corner store once stood. Life has a way of bringing us full circle, he began, his voice carrying the warmth that had replaced his former corporate crispness. Sometimes we have to lose our way to find our true purpose. In the front row, Maria sat beaming, the simple gold band on her finger catching the morning light. Their wedding 6 months earlier had been everything. His first engagement wasn't intimate, genuine, and focused on love rather than publicity. They'd asked guests to donate to the foundation instead of giving gifts, and the response had been overwhelming. Flashback montage. The path to this moment hadn't been without its challenges. When Alex first announced his return to business with a focus on accessible healthcare, many had dismissed it as the desperate move of a fallen titan. But they hadn't counted on the power of genuine purpose combined with technological innovation. The foundation's AI diagnostic system, developed with input from doctors who'd once worked at Maria's underground clinic, was revolutionizing healthcare accessibility. What began as a single free clinic had grown into a network of facilities across the country, each combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate care. Scene transition to conference room. The confrontation with his past came sooner than expected. At a healthcare innovation conference, Alex found himself face-to-face with James and Victoria. The awkwardness was palpable, but time and perspective had softened the edges of betrayal. "Your new company's doing remarkable work," James admitted, the polish of his British accent not quite hiding his discomfort. "I've been following your progress." But Victoria, standing beside her now husband Marcus Sterling, nodded. "The foundation's impact on underprivileged communities, it's inspiring, Alex. Truly." Alex studied their faces, James's carefully masked regret, Victoria's genuine admiration tinged with what might have been nostalgia. He thought of Maria's words about forgiveness being a gift you give yourself. "Thank you," he replied simply. "We're always looking for partners who share our vision of ethical innovation. If either of your companies would like to collaborate on expanding healthcare access." The olive branch was extended without bitterness. In the end, turning former rivals into allies served a greater purpose than holding on to past grievances. Return to present day. Back at the clinic opening, Alex gestured to the crowd gathered before him: doctors, nurses, tech developers, and community members, all united by a shared vision. 2 years ago, I thought I had lost everything, he continued. What I didn't realize was that I was about to find something far more valuable. True wealth isn't measured in acquisitions or assets, it's measured in the lives we touch and the changes we inspire. Maria joined him at the podium, their hands naturally finding each other. The woman who had once cleaned his hospital room now co-directed a foundation that was transforming healthcare accessibility across the nation. Her medical license had been reinstated, but she chose to focus on training other healthcare workers in the art of compassionate care. Together they announced, "We're just getting started." Camera pans across audience. In the audience, faces both familiar and new reflected the truth of their journey. Former board members now served on the foundation's ethics committee. Tech innovators who once chased profits now develop solutions for underserved communities. Even Marcus Sterling's company had become a surprising ally in the mission to democratize healthcare. Soft focus on Alex and Maria. As the ribbon-cutting ceremony concluded, Alex and Maria walked through the clinic's halls, greeting staff and patients alike. The plaque by the entrance read, "Dedicated to all who understand that healing begins with the heart." They had built something greater than an empire. They had created a legacy of compassion, proving that the greatest wealth lies not in what we possess, but in what we give back to others. Music swells gently, then fades soft, inspiring music plays. They say you never truly know the value of what you have until you lose it. But sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find what truly matters. Alexander Chen's journey from billionaire tech mogul to coma patient to humanitarian leader isn't just a story of fall and redemption. It's a powerful reminder that our true worth isn't stored in our bank accounts, but in the hearts of those who stand beside us when those accounts run dry. Today, the Chen Suarez Foundation is more than just a healthcare network. It's a testament to the power of authentic relationships and purposeful living. In the end, Alex found his greatest fortune not in the penthouse he once owned, but in the humble heart of a night shift janitor who saw his humanity when the world only saw his net worth. Camera pans across Foundation headquarters. If there's one lesson to take from this incredible journey, it's that real wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in the lives we touch, the love we share, and the legacy we leave behind. Turning to camera. What kind of wealth are you building in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us of what truly matters. Remember, sometimes life's greatest blessings come disguised as our biggest losses.